And of course, there are lots of opinions out there on how schools should be made safer. But what do the people who currently patrol our schools with guns think?
Mo Canady is here. He's the executive director of the National Association of School Resource Officers and served as a school officer for 12 years himself. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And so nobody knows this better than you. You know it firsthand. How do you feel about the proposals coming out of Tallahassee right now to make our schools safer, especially the thought of arming school personnel?
Well, our association has been pretty direct in how we feel about the arming of school personnel and teachers in particular, and we're opposed to that. We recommend against that. We believe the people that should be armed in the school environment are trained, certified law enforcement officers, specifically trained to work in the school environment.
You met with school resource officers in Parkland today. What were those meetings like? What were those discussions? What did you hear from them? Yeah,
it was actually several levels of school professionals, school safety professionals. And one of the things that I wanted to know as I go into some meetings in Washington, D.C. next week is what are the needs? And one of the things I heard certainly is funding. There are school safety grants that are out there currently. We'd like to see more funding for those, especially for some of the cops hiring grants. Also, the idea of target hardening for schools. It's something we've really got to take a real solid look at. And after Columbine, after Sandy Hook, certainly those ideas were tossed around. We implemented some of those, but it's maybe time to go a step further.
Obviously, a lot of the talk in the last 2.5 weeks surrounding the tragedy at Marjory Stoneman Douglas has been the fact that the school resource officer there at that high school did not enter that building, Building 12, at the time of the shooting, according to BSO's investigation so far. Just speaking with your experience, what was your initial reaction to hearing that from the sheriff, that SRO or the deputy did not enter the building?
Surprised, but certainly not knowing all the circumstances, it's hard to judge. Florida is one of the few states where we don't conduct the basic SRO training. Florida has their own basic SRO training, so I'm not sure exactly how all the officers are trained, but we do train officers in our basic class that if you hear gunfire in a building, if there's an active shooter event going on, you have to go direct to threat and end it. So that's the way we train them.
Are your officers engaging in more training as a result of what we're seeing with these school shootings?
I don't know that I would say they're engaging in more training. We've always been very aggressive in terms of training and encouraging it on a regular basis. Training should never be a one-time deal where an officer goes through the basic SRO course and that's it. They should be training constantly, and that's why we provide constant training opportunities.
I have a question. I know that the school resource officers in Broward County at Marjory Stoneman Douglas, they're armed. But they're armed with a handgun. Someone comes in with an AR-15 or a military-style assault weapon, as was used in Parkland and has been used in other school shootings. It really is not a fair fight, is it? I mean, what is a school resource officer with a handgun supposed to do in a situation like that?
It's an excellent question, and listen, Broward County is one of the best sheriff's offices in the country, no doubt about it. And so they're well-equipped, well-trained. And the thing is, when you're dealing with that situation, you've got to be, as a law enforcement officer, within the mindset and be well trained enough that you would put your training, your experience, and your equipment up against that situation, that you could use sound tactics with your experience, respond to that situation, and be able to defeat it through your experience and training.
Mo Canady, thank you so much. The Executive Director of the National Association of School Resource Officers based in Alabama. Thanks for coming down to Florida. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.